we have to kind of get it out of our minds and look at it in front of us to be able to pick it apart a little bit, kind of separate ourselves from it, give it some distance. So it's not just floating around in there. Like I always joke that it's like pulling the strings in the shadows, right? Like you don't really realize how much your thought process is influencing the way that you're feeling until you really take a step back and look at it. And as soon as you shine a light on that, things start to change. You can't change anything without being aware of what it is that's going on.
Hi, I'm Tori Mystic, and you're listening to the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast, the only show dedicated to supporting women in all areas of the pet industry. In today's episode, we acknowledge the growing awareness and acceptance of mental health within the pet industry. However, it's essential to recognize that current conversations may not provide sufficient resources for individuals struggling with pet-related mental health. Jess Adam, through her business Handlers and Humans, is creating a bridge to fill this gap. Jess and I discuss why telling someone to quote-unquote calm down is not an adequate solution when they're stressed about their reactive dog or any other situation in life. Jess advocates for a people-focused dog training approach. Through her resources, she enables dog trainers to guide clients through the emotions associated with raising and training a dog, while also addressing their own feelings of frustration and burnout. Additionally, towards the end of our conversation, Jess provides tips on how to cope with significant emotions related to your pets. Her online course is available to pet partners, and she has an upcoming cohort designed specifically to assist dog trainers. Before I play the interview, I want to share some other resources that we have available here at Wear, Wag, Repeat to help with that overwhelm feeling. We are at the halfway point of 2023, if you can believe it. I hardly can. And I want to know how you are coming with reaching the goals you set for yourself and for your business in January. Are you telling me you didn't set any goals? That can't be the case. I am a big advocate for setting goals because if you don't set goals, frankly, you're never going to reach them. And so if you didn't set any goals, or if you need to kind of reassess where you are on your path, it is the perfect time to join Wear, Wag, Repeat Society. Our theme for the month of July is a mid-year check-in. I'm so excited about this lesson because for the last 2 years, we've done an end of year check-in every December to kind of assess how you did with reaching your goals through the whole year. This year in 2023, we're doing it in the very middle of the year so that you actually have time to course correct and reach those goals that you deserve to achieve. So head over to wearwagrepeat.com/society. The lesson will be taught on the first Friday of the month live in our members only Facebook group. It will be uploaded to our members forum on Teachable. And we also have a private members only podcast for Wear, Wag, Repeat Society. If you join today, you will get access to all of that, plus the archives going all the way back to January 2021 when I launched the membership. It's a wonderful group of women in the pet industry that really support each other. It is women just like you and me. We are all in this together and we are here to support you. You don't have to feel overwhelmed because we provide the accountability to help you reach your goals. So if you are serious about making 2023 the best year yet in your pet business, or just one that you can be really proud of, it doesn't have to be the best one ever, come join us in Wear, Wag, Repeat Society. Again, it is wearwagrepeat.com/society. Jess Adam of Handlers and Humans is a licensed psychotherapist and professor of counseling psychology with over a decade of experience in clinical mental health. She is also the proud owner of a lovable and reactive lab pit mix named Dio. When Jess and Dio were in the thick of dealing with behavioral issues, she realized working on her own emotional well-being would benefit them both. Now, her passion is to support the dog world with coaching and mental health resources for anyone who loves, lives with, or trains reactive, aggressive, or challenging dogs. Hi, Jess.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you here. This is just such a cool topic, and what an awesome niche that you've built for yourself, and something that is definitely needed. I feel like I hear these buzzwords just all the time of compassion fatigue and all kinds of things. And that's obviously a big issue. Yours is kind of helping people with reactive dogs, which is also a big buzzword, I feel like. So let me stop talking and you tell us. You tell us what you do and kind of how you got into this niche.
Yeah, so I offer coaching to dog owners, but also dog trainers, canine professionals of any kind, in group programs and in like individual kind of coaching programs as well. Because what we all go through, whether we're an owner of a reactive dog, training reactive dogs, whatever it is, it takes a lot out of you, right? It is something that I always talk about being a long haul kind of process. So if you're committing to this dog, you're committing to a bit of a journey, right? So in order to really continue to show up for them in ways that, are sustainable for you as the human, whether again, you're the trainer or the owner, you really need to take care of yourself in a really like mindful, intentional way. So that's something that I try to support people in sort of whatever direction they need. I kind of got into this because of my own experiences, which I feel like is such a common story, right? That's what like trainers will say to me, right? Like, oh, I became a trainer because I had a tough dog. And I'm not going to lie, I absolutely even thought about becoming a trainer at one point because I was so like entrenched in the dog training world, trying to kind of help Dio and help myself through the things we were going through. But I love being a therapist and I can't really imagine doing anything else with my life. And I also spent all this time in school and all those things. And so I was like, I really don't want to walk away from the mental health field because it's just where I feel like I belong. And I was able to really bring together like those two passions, finding that dog training passion and then the mental health world as well. The trainers that I worked with got really close with them, right? Spent a lot of time working with them as a client. And they started to say things to me like, I wish I could send my clients to you for therapy because they're really struggling, or there's like a dynamic in this couple that I don't know how to deal with. I feel like I'm doing therapy every time they bring their dog to me. I don't know how to work with that. And eventually I started to think, well, I don't know, maybe you can, right? Like maybe you can bring your clients to me for specific, like niche oriented support. And it really resonated because I hit a pretty big wall at one point in my process, journey, training experience with Dio where, I was really considering like, can I do this anymore? Am I going to be able to, do I have what it takes here? And it really took a lot out of my mental health, my emotional well-being. And, everyone thinks therapists like know what to do all the time. And we forget to use our own tools constantly. So I was like, wow, I really should start being a little bit more intentional about how I approach things with him. And it made a huge difference. So those two pieces, kind of inspired me to blend things together and create handlers and humans.
I love it. Well, and as I was listening to you talk, I just kind of was thinking that, we don't always have to seek help when things are like the worst and you can't take it anymore. Sometimes you just need help. Sometimes you don't even know you need help because it's just something that you're kind of like desensitized to. And you're like, this is just my life. This is what my life is like. There's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is.
Right.
And I feel like I see pet parents all the time when I'm out in public, who they're just really anxious about what their dog is doing, how their dog is behaving. And maybe they're not reactive, but like their dog maybe can't settle. And so the person's constantly fussing and touching. And I'm like, I just want to say, if you would settle, maybe your dog would also settle. Maybe.
Right. Maybe.
No guarantees, but it is such a dynamic relationship of how we react and act, and how our dogs kind of pick up on that energy.
Yep, absolutely. And, so there's that message out there, right? That's like, if you're just less anxious, your dog will be less anxious, right? Which, it's not that I disagree that there's absolute truth to that. Like, how could there not be, right?
But it's
Because
almost like telling someone like, just calm down.
Calm down. Exactly. Right. Right. I talk about that all the time on my Instagram. I'm like, if you hear this, I'm sorry someone said this to you, because it is pretty unhelpful. And it's like, it's well-intentioned, right? It's not coming from a place of like finger wagging or being, it's not.
This is why I never actually say this advice. I just think it to myself.
Yeah. Well, and you're not wrong, because again, how could we not influence one another, right? They influence us, we influence them. I always joke about like, who do you spend more time with than your dog? Like right now, Dio is behind me snoring, right? So, and my kids aren't in the room, they're elsewhere. My husband's at work. Like I'm with him even more than I'm with basically anyone else, honestly, and have been for the last 9 years. So, so of course I am going to influence him, but I also can't just snap my fingers and calm down when I'm anxious, because like I'm an anxious person. It's sort of baked into me a little bit. And I heard that a lot, right? Just kind of embody something, embody confidence and all that. And yeah, I mean, I will try, but it doesn't quite work. And so that's where I try to help trainers shift that message, right? Make it a little bit more helpful, kind of frame it differently, give people tools. So you kind of mentioned earlier, like you hear the buzzwords like compassion fatigue and reactive dogs. And so, yeah, everyone is talking about mental health in the dog world right now, which is amazing, but there isn't so much like how and what and tools and concrete things out there. So I'm super glad that it is a topic of conversation, but we need the actual support there. And that's kind of like the gap that I'm trying to fill.
Yeah, it feels like we're kind of raising awareness and like pulling down the curtain on talking about mental health. But I agree with you. I see a lot of content online of really relatable dog moms like me who say, oh my God, I went on this dog walk and I came home and I'm crying and I'm overwhelmed. And it's wonderful that people can be so transparent about their struggles, but how do we help each other? And that's kind of where you come in.
Right. Where do we go from here? And how do trainers help people kind of get there? Right. Because dog trainers, I always like joke, but not joke, that they're the therapists, right, of the dog world. They are helping professionals. I'm a helping professional. So are nurses and doctors and dog trainers. Honestly, it's all about helping other people reach goals, supporting them through challenges, whatever the case might be. Right. And so how do we help those helpers get to a place where they're able to more successfully connect with the human client and kind of build that rapport and that safety and that trust, which is exactly what we focus on and try to prioritize with the dog. But we have to do it with the human client, because that's how we're reaching the dog, right? We're reaching the dog through the person. So trying to allow for skill building, that's not just about dog training, skill building, that's also about the human aspect of it, is really important.
Okay, tell us more about that. What does that mean?
So I like to call it person-centered dog training. So that's kind of the phrase that I've been using in order to kind of frame like the coaching work that I do with trainers. I have a group coaching program that's like a cohort model that I'm going to be launching one soon publicly. I've done it privately so far. I haven't done it like publicly yet. So coming soon on that. But basically in that space, I like to talk about kind of core counseling skills that I have baked into me from my training, right? So dog trainers, you're experts on dogs, but I also know kind of some tips and tricks and helpful things and helpful mindset tools to help you work with humans and connect with them more effectively, and therefore hopefully have them reach their goals, more easily and those types of things. And also to help with that compassion fatigue that dog trainers go through, right? So if we're talking about dog trainers as helping professionals, which they are experiencing the exact same things that I experience as a clinician, as a therapist. The burnout, the sometimes feeling like jaded, right? All the things that come up, frustrated, with your work, frustrated towards clients sometimes. Like it's real, it happens, it's normal. But I have spent years and years and years getting formal training and supervision and mentorship and support in my field to be there and continue to show up by being given those tools to work through the burnout and given that support. And I don't see dog trainers getting the same support. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping person-centered dog training is going to be. It's going to be something that's focused on helping the trainers work more sustainably in this field, because we need you badly. So please stick around, right? And also in order to connect better with their clients and have more success there.
Yeah. Well, I like it. Everything you're saying, it makes so much sense too, because you're giving trainers the tools to help their clients, which in turn helps their dogs and everyone around them, hopefully, if they can communicate better in general. And then also helping the actual trainers with their own struggles through dealing with clients. And I think frustration is definitely, I think, a big factor of, my client does not do what I tell them to do.
Right.
And you feel sorry for the dog because the person's not, giving them the best kind of situation to excel in, I guess. So yeah, it can be very frustrating, I think.
Yep. And that is, again, exactly what I experienced as a therapist. I spent most of my career working with children and adolescents and trauma. And so that's kind of like where my niche has been as a therapist. And so it's even more prominent in terms of being like a child therapist and adolescent therapist, where I have to kind of go through the family, right, in order to support the child. Same thing for dog trainers, having to go through the owner to support the dog. If we left the dog with you and you could just work with them all the time and they could live with you, it would be a different story, right? Than sending them home and giving them homework and crossing your fingers that they do it and all of that. It's the same thing that I go through with my clients too, in the therapy world. So that really gets to you. That's really hard when you don't see it happening, or you don't see it playing out, or you see detrimental things happening, right? That you're like, this is actively undoing what I'm hoping to achieve with this dog. And dog trainers have a passion for working with dogs. That's why they're in the field. We want to help dogs, but you have to help the person, or at least learn to meet them where they are, to have the best potential outcome for that dog. And if you are missing that piece, then there's going to be clients who will absolutely show up and do the work, and it's going to be great. But there's going to be some that don't, and you might need to take a different focus and a different approach that centers them.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember who I had on a long time ago, a dog trainer or someone, maybe it was somebody who was like helping people start their dog training businesses. But she said that, people came to her all the time and said, I became a dog trainer because I hate people and I love dogs. And she was like, that is my least favorite thing. I hate when people say that, because you need to communicate with the people. That's like your direct line to the dog.
Right. Absolutely. And so that's where that's the gap that I'm trying to fill. Like, here's some core pieces that I sort of use in counseling that allow for, setting the stage for the best success there. Some of the basics that we approach things with, some human-centered stuff that we learn in school, honestly, that we learn in counseling school, and then we learn to apply, and we get supervised, and we get, our sessions recorded and all those sorts of things that, we spend a lot of time practicing this stuff. And that's just like a missing piece. It's not a detriment or like a deficit, rather, for dog trainers. It's just a piece that you don't necessarily have all the time baked into, your training, but it is baked into mine. And so I'm like, I have some stuff to share.
Yeah, no, I think it sounds like an amazing asset. So you're focusing mainly on helping dog trainers, but do you think that there's other canine or pet industry professionals that would benefit from this kind of knowledge?
I do. I've been talking to people lately about working with like people in the veterinary world, because we know for sure that there is so much stress and so much mental health, challenges going on in like the vet industry, because so many reasons.
Because of so many reasons. I can't. We would need like 14 episodes to go into that.
And I know that there are veterinary social workers out there who really specialize in that sort of thing. And so that's sort of an area that I'm really interested in getting to know more and supporting more, because we really, really need them to be well too. We need that supportive vet who's kind of be able to show up for their clients and not get drained by it and not get burnt out themselves.
Yeah, because we need them there for like a long time. We don't just want someone to be a vet for 5 years and then peace out.
Right, exactly. And that's how I feel about the dog trainers too, right? It's all a long haul process, and we need you.
Yeah.
Speaking as a dog owner who really needs the supportive people. I needed them so much. Thank goodness for the dog trainers I had. I'm so, so grateful. Like they changed everything for us, the dog trainers that we kind of found after some rough experiences at first. But, when we found the right fit for us, I don't know what I would have done without them. Like they allowed me to have the life with Dio that I have now. I credit them with that. And I couldn't be more thankful for that. And if they weren't there, where would we be?
I love hearing stories like that. I love when people are like, I met this one particular trainer that like introduced me to this thing, and all of a sudden it all clicked into place. And I don't know why it took so long to figure this out, but here we are. And so, so you really do. We need every single trainer, not just like the top 10% or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to think about it that way, where we need all of you, right? Because I definitely have taken pieces from different trainers that I've worked with too, and kind of blended them into what works best for us and what gave us the most success. And so I had, our first real trainer. I say real because the first trainer I went to with him, I don't know that, that I would consider them, it was just like one of those things where I think we dropped out after like 4 sessions or 4 group classes or something like that.
That's still pretty long.
Yeah. I think it was like an 8 session. We were told, I was repeatedly told to like tell my dog to be quiet, literally just tell him to be quiet. I was like, I don't know how to do that. I'm so sorry. He doesn't.
My dog doesn't speak English. Sorry.
The puppy does not speak English. I don't know what to say. But we had our first real support. And then I explored from there. And what was really cool was that trainer was really supportive of that. She was like, try this. This person has this type of class. This person has this type of approach. So she was really encouraging me to take like an eclectic kind of approach to working with him and reaching out to others who didn't maybe have the specialties that she did. And like blending all of that together was a really cool experience and helped me just learn a lot, but also, allowed for such like a beautiful relationship with my dog, which is one of my favorite things ever.
Yeah. Well, it just hearing you talk about it in that way kind of made me think that, we think of medicine and law are a practice, and it's not something that is perfected. It's not a science, really. I mean, medicine, hopefully the science, but like you have a medical practice because you're always practicing and always learning. And I think we don't always think of dog trainers in that way. We expect like the one person you hire to have all the answers.
Right.
And this like combining and referring you to a specialist, it's much like our own medical health. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's something I talk to dog owners about too. So I tell people, people ask me for therapy recommendations all the time. Who's a therapist I should see? And I always tell people you should really shop for your therapist. You should shop for your dog trainer, and you should take the perspective of multiple people and kind of keep exploring and take it as a journey, right? Enjoy that time versus like, I have a goal I must meet and we need to get to this point. I was absolutely like that. And that contributed a lot to my own burnout with my dog, right? I had this very specific vision in mind for what we were going to be and what our life was going to be like. And he was going to be a therapy dog. And he actually did end up like passing the certifications for that. He did get, I think it was Pet Partners. Yeah, it was Pet Partners we went through. And he can do it behaviorally, right? But it's not for him, actually. It's really not a good fit for him. And so he doesn't practice therapy with me. He doesn't go to work with me. He doesn't meet with clients. But man, I held pretty tightly to that vision.
You're like, we're going to get that certification, whether you like it or not. But
we did. And then we started and I was like, this is not for you. I started taking him to work and realizing and, recognizing this was not a good fit for him. But if I had just really stuck with that, right, and had that like one track mind about it, that was something that contributed majorly to me struggling.
Imagine if you had like forced it, no one would have had a good time.
No, right. Exactly. And I feel bad to this. I have like dog mom guilt to this day about not realizing it soon enough. Like I didn't take him to work for very long. Thankfully I kind of caught it quickly, but I didn't realize some of the signs that he was showing were stress signs at first. And so once I did, I was like, oh, and now you're just my therapy dog at home and that's fine. Yeah. He's perfectly happy with that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So, for people who are listening, maybe they have a reactive dog, maybe they don't, but all of our dogs can be frustrating
Sure.
at some point in time.
Right.
So can you give us any tips that we can implement? Like when we're feeling that frustration or just feeling like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I always ask people and encourage people to start with is creating a lot of awareness around the thoughts that you're having related to whatever challenge is going on with your dog. Because, right, our emotions are very loud. And it makes sense that they are, right? They take over your body. You feel them viscerally, right? They drive us so much. And sometimes the perspective, the mindset, the thought process that we're having that's kind of underneath those emotions is not necessarily getting looked at and challenged and examined, and really just, taking the time to do that and kind of recognizing what's the story that I'm telling myself right now that's contributing to this frustration or this anxiety about my dog, whatever it is that you're feeling. It doesn't matter what you're feeling. Any of those things are going to be driven by what's going on underneath in the kind of mindset. Again, what story am I telling myself? What voices are sort of influencing me? Where am I telling myself I should be doing something differently, or something should look, this certain way that it doesn't look? Am I getting influenced by people's opinions? And am I kind of like taking that in and then feeling frustrated about it? All those things that can go in so many directions. I always encourage people to kind of take a step back when they're feeling really like any kind of heightened emotion and do some journaling around what's the thought process there. Take 5 minutes, literally set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes and do a stream of consciousness journal. Just don't let your pen stop moving until the tape that's playing in your mind, the narrative that's there, is kind of out on paper. Because when you can look at that and be like, wow, I didn't really realize how much, my aunt's opinion of my dog's behavior was contributing to me feeling like he should act differently. Do I care if he acts differently, or do I care because someone else cares? Right. So if you can start to like examine the stuff that's underneath, it's going to change things pretty drastically. Like, you don't even have to necessarily implement all of the coping skills and all those things to feel a change, just by bringing some awareness to what's going on internally for you.
That's great advice. And I feel like I need to go do that as soon as we're done talking. Nothing dog, but just like anything in life, like anything that you said, like that you have a heightened emotion or overwhelming emotion about, just to set that timer and like word vomit out.
Yep. No, absolutely. It's a really powerful exercise, because we have to kind of get it out of our minds and look at it in front of us to be able to pick it apart a little bit, kind of separate ourselves from it, give it some distance. So it's not just floating around in there. Like, I always joke that it's like pulling the strings in the shadows, right? Like, you don't really realize how much your thought process is influencing the way that you're feeling until you really take a step back and look at it. And as soon as you shine a light on that, things start to change. You can't change anything without being aware of what it is that's going on. So that's just step one. Like, that's baseline.
Because our thoughts don't always go like, this A thing happened, then this B thing happened, and therefore I'm going to do C. It's just like subconscious.
Right. And it's automatic, right? It's all the time. And all of those thoughts, like our automatic thoughts come from so many places, right? Our childhood experiences that we've had, the larger culture and society around us, the culture in which we were raised, like so many places, right? And so if we don't examine that and say, like, do I actually feel this way? Do I buy into this? Or is this something that's just like deeply ingrained in me and it's still influencing me? And I think that is just one of the coolest ways that our dogs help us grow and give us an opportunity to work on ourselves. Our dogs don't really let us like look away from our stuff. Like, they keep bringing it up all the time. And I just think that we can take that as like an opportunity to work on things. Because like you said, you can utilize that sort of tool in so many areas of your life. And if you got inspired to do that because of your relationship with your dog, that's like just an amazing way that they've helped you grow as a person in all aspects of your life, not just with them.
Yeah, that's so true. So Jess, how do you have services or an online course perhaps that people can take to learn more about this?
Yes. So for dog owners, for reactive dog owners, separation anxiety, behavioral issues, whatever it is, I have a course called Coping with Canines, and it's a hybrid course. So that means like it's self-paced. There's, video modules and worksheets that you can go through at your own pace, take pieces of it, whatever resonates with you, and you would have lifetime access to that. And then there's like a cool bonus to it, which I love, which is a social support aspect. And so we have a monthly group coaching call on Zoom. So anyone who's in the program can join those monthly calls. We all just like chat about our dogs, what's going on with them. I always try to bring the conversation back around to like, how can you cope with this better, right? Because this is a space for you, not like training advice necessarily, right? So everyone is just connecting on understanding what it's like to have a challenging dog in there. We also have like a private Facebook group where people post and celebrate wins and say, oh my gosh, I have a vet appointment tomorrow. I'm so nervous. Everyone send good thoughts, and people are following up and saying, how did it go? Good job. That sort of thing. So it's just a cool space for whether you want to connect with others or you want to kind of work through like the concrete skills that can support your mental health. And that's for dog owners. I also do one-on-ones with dog owners as well, doing individual coaching and support packages and things like that for different issues. And then for dog trainers, I do that one-on-one coaching and support as well. And my person-centered dog training program is something that, again, I'm launching publicly pretty soon. Haven't set an official date, but I'm like behind the scenes sketching out the launch plan. So again, I run it privately with some training groups, some businesses, and it's just been amazing. So I'm really excited to offer it more widely.
Cool. Well, keep us posted so we can all check it out. And speaking of checking it all out, where can we go? What's the website?
Yep. handlersandhumans.com. And I'm pretty active on Instagram at handlersandhumans too.
Okay. All right. Well, Jess, thank you so much. I feel like we talked about Dio. We didn't talk about Dio enough. I wanted to get more into his head, but maybe we'll have to have a follow-up conversation.
Yeah, that sounds good. I could talk about Dio all the time. So anytime.
Yes, I would love that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for your time and for being on the podcast.
Thanks so much.
Some of the best conversations happen after the episode. Send me a note on Instagram at wearwagrepeat, or find even more women petpreneurs to connect with in our private Facebook group called Wear, Wag, Repeat Labs. If you want to dig into more episodes, resources to grow your business, or find a link to something we discussed, it is all right there for you at wearwagrepeat.com. I'll see you back here next Wednesday for a fresh conversation.